All right, let's talk about today's business matters. Flight tracking data is showing that a new Boeing 737 MAX, that is, landed in China today. The U.S. plane manufacturer had previously said that Beijing would halt the delivery of new planes due to U.S. tariffs. And Boeing added that China has also considered reselling dozens of aircraft. The Xiamen Airlines plane left Seattle on Saturday and halted to refuel in Hawaii and Guam. The aircraft landed at a Boeing completion center near China's commercial hub of Shanghai. Boeing halted deliveries of new aircraft to China in April as the world's two largest economies slapped tariffs on each other's goods. The American playmaker said at the end of May deliveries would resume in June after the tariffs were scaled back for 90 days. And Warner Brothers Discovery is breaking up. The media conglomerate says it's going to split into two companies, separating its studios and streaming business from its cable television networks. Warner Brothers Discovery said today that streaming and studios will include Warner Brothers Television, Warner Brothers Motion Picture Group, DC Studios, HBO, and HBO Max. So the global networks company will include CNN, TNT Sports, Discovery, and Bleacher Report. So CEO David Zaslav will lead the streaming and studios business after the breakup, and CFO Gunnar Weidenfels will head the global networks unit. And the separation will be structured as a tax-free transaction and is expected to be completed by the middle of next year. As well, big tech continues to cut big checks for AI. Amazon just announced that it plans to invest at least $20 billion in Pennsylvania to expand data center infrastructure. The company says the investment will create about 1,200 high-skilled jobs, including data center engineers, security specialists, and additional technical roles. The first communities selected as sites for future campuses are Salem Township and Falls Township. Now, just weeks after President Trump called for expedited delivery on nuclear energy, a Pennsylvania-based nuclear developer is stepping up. Here's the story.
At the end of May, President Trump signed executive orders to fast-track nuclear energy in the U.S. Now, nuclear equipment supplier Westinghouse says it's in talks with federal officials and industry partners to deploy 10 large nuclear reactors. Large reactors typically have enough capacity to power more than 500,000 homes. The company's interim CEO, Dan Sumner, explained that Westinghouse is uniquely positioned to deliver the president's agenda. Sumner says it has an approved reactor design, an effective supply chain, and recent experience building reactors in Georgia. Trump's executive orders set targets to quadruple nuclear energy capacity in the U.S. by 2050, with work on 10 large reactors to start by 2030. Developers and utilities are fast-tracking plans to tap into billions in federal incentives expected from the administration. One estimate projects that the 10 large nuclear reactors could cost $75 billion, not accounting for delays or overruns.
And we're seeing a dim spot in the solar industry, just a small one. New U.S. solar energy installations are expected to fall over the next 5 years. And this forecast is coming from top solar trade group Solar Energy Industries Association and energy research firm Wood Mackenzie. And the report explains that the solar industry is grappling with a shift in federal policy that favors fossil fuels, tariffs, and other challenges. And the group expects that by 2030, new solar capacity will be more than 10% lower than it is this year. Now, in recent years, the industry has been lifted by tax credits for renewable energy projects and the Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act. But President Trump campaigned on repealing tax credits from the act, and Congress is considering cuts to tax credits for renewable energy. Summertime travel is ramping up, and the Transportation Secretary administration wants flyers to know that while Costco cards may be good for getting hot dogs, You cannot use them as a form of identification, and the agency is reminding flyers that this week, despite rumors on social media, Costco and other membership club cards don't count for screening. The TSA says trying to use club cards for ID could actually lead to delays and travel headaches. TSA last month began enforcing the requirement for real IDs and other acceptable forms of identification used at security points. Those accepted include passports, of course, border crossing cards, and permanent resident cards. The Federal Aviation Administration is capping flight operations at Newark Liberty International Airport. It follows a series of air traffic control meltdowns. Starting September 1st, arrivals and departures will be limited to 28 per hour on weekends due to runway construction. At other times, they'll be capped at 34 per hour through late October. And the changes follow multiple incidents where pilots and controllers lost communication at the New Jersey airport. The FAA is installing new fiber optic technology and high bandwidth systems. Officials say the reduced traffic is already helping, and travelers may even benefit from better on-time performance and deals on summer fares. More signs today that U.S. tariffs are starting to impact China. New figures show exports rising just 4.8% year over year in May. And that is a sizable drop from April and the slowest rate in 3 months. Here's more.
Imports also tumbled far more than expected. Overseas shipments had surged earlier in the year as US firms rushed to stock up on Chinese-made goods before the tariffs kicked in. That meant some slowdown had been expected later in the year, but May's figure was still worse than forecast. One analyst said exports were probably also hit by tough customs inspections, with China looking to enforce its own curbs on shipments to the US. Monday's figures also showed declines in Chinese imports of oil, coal and iron ore, adding to signs of weak demand at home. That also showed up in producer and consumer price data. Both extended declines, with producer prices dropping 3.3% in May, the sharpest contraction in 22 months. In a symbol of the sagging demand, US coffee chain Starbucks said Monday it would lower prices in China for some iced drinks. Now the numbers are likely to increase pressure on policymakers to step in with more stimulus measures. Beijing last month rolled out moves including cuts to benchmark interest rates, with more steps now widely expected over the course of this year.
The impacts of trade policy offloaded at U.S. ports. Last month, U.S. ocean container imports from China saw the sharpest decline since the pandemic. Supply chain technology provider Descartes reports that these imports fell nearly 29% year over year. The U.S. and China are in the middle of a 90-day pause on tit-for-tat tariffs. Officials from both countries met in London today to continue trade talks. Meanwhile, new data suggests there's a link between lying and credit card debt. A new survey from online marketing firm LendingTree found that about 4 out of 10 consumers with credit card debt have lied about it. The survey found that ratio rose to about half for those who earn more than $100,000 a year. LendingTree analysts say that Americans generally carry more guilt and shame about credit card debt than they do with student loans or home mortgages. The firm says that the nation's collective credit card balance is about $1.2 trillion. It found that people carry an average amount of $7,300. The average credit card interest rate is right around a staggering 21.4%. Walmart's majority-owned fintech startup has unveiled a pair of new credit cards for its shoppers. OnePay is partnering with financial service company Synchrony to launch a general credit card that can be used anywhere and one that can be used only for Walmart purchases. Synchrony will handle issuing the cards, and OnePay will be in charge of customer experience through its app. Walmart previously partnered with Capital One as the exclusive provider of its credit cards, but sued in 2023 to end the relationship ahead of schedule. Car executives have once again been driven into their war rooms. They're worried that China's tight export controls on rare earth magnets could cripple car production. Here's more.
Cars today use rare earth-based motors in dozens of components. They include side mirrors, speakers, oil pumps, wipers, and sensors for fuel leakage and braking sensors. Electric vehicles use more rare earths than combustion engine cars. Industry leaders are worried that the situation could become the third massive supply chain shock in 5 years. A semiconductor shortage wiped out millions of cars from production plans between 2021 and 2023. Before that, the pandemic shut factories for weeks. This time, as the rare earths bottleneck tightens, the industry has few good options. That's because China dominates the market. It controls around 70% of global rare earths mining, 85% of refining capacity, and about 90% of rare earths metal alloy and magnet production, according to industry data. The fate of automakers' assembly lines has been left to a small team of Chinese bureaucrats as it reviews hundreds of applications for export permits. In Europe, the region's Auto Supplier Association says several plants have already shut down, with more outages coming.
And a partial system shutdown in response to a cyber attack. One of America's largest publicly traded health food wholesalers has taken some of its systems offline after a massive cyber breach. United Natural Foods Incorporated said it found unauthorized activity in its systems. In response, the company explained that it proactively went offline while it investigates. UNFI said it also reached out to law enforcement for assistance and is working to restore its systems. The wholesaler ships to more than 30,000 grocery stores and is the primary one for Whole Foods. Chipotle is releasing a new dip for the first time in 5 years. So starting on June 17th, the burrito chain is permanently adding adobo ranch to its menu. The dip is a variation of classic ranch dressing. It's seasoned with adobo pepper, sour cream, and other herbs and spices. Today's announcement marks the company's first new dip release since 2020, when it rolled out a reformulated queso. That rollout immediately boosted sales, and the company is likely hoping for the same success as it deals with a slowdown in consumer spending. Some people find it tough to get around as they get older. Ride-sharing service Uber is trying to help. It has launched senior accounts designed for older adults. The senior accounts are part of Uber's Family Profiles feature. The app features larger text, fewer buttons, and easy-to-follow directions. Uber says the senior account should make it easier for seniors to book a ride when they need one, and users can easily store frequent destinations like home or the doctor's office for quick access. All right, on to markets now. S&P 500 slightly higher today. It's buoyed by gains in Amazon and Alphabet amid renewed U.S.-China trade talks. So investors were encouraged by ongoing negotiations, which are, of course, aimed at resolving a long-standing trade dispute. Amazon rose after announcing a $20 billion investment in AI-related infrastructure in Pennsylvania, while Alphabet also gained. Apple, however, dipped following a lackluster developer event. But despite these movements, major indexes remain just below recent record highs. And that's it today on Business Matters.